Hello, friends. We have fresh news from sunny Poland. There's been an attack on children in Legnica, some petty vandalism, and a fight on a tram in Poznan. We're going to break down the latest high-profile incidents, discuss why attempts to blame crime on political provocations don't hold up to scrutiny, where the line is between chauvinism and everyday aggression, and how to keep yourself and your loved ones safe. Let's figure it out together. Please like and subscribe to the channel now. Friends, support aerodynamics with a like. Thanks to everyone who helps. These actions only take 2 seconds. Thank you for your support. Yes, let me remind you that the best money transfer service is TransferGo. If you need to support your family and loved ones, the link is in the description. Go ahead and register. Well, friends, we got news from Legnica last night. They reek of banal but no less disgusting hooliganism mixed with chauvinism. The situation is very simple and at the same time revealing. There is a pool called Delfinek on Pomeranian Street, and a group of children was relaxing there. They were 13 or 14 years old. Yes, teenagers. And what do you think they dared to do? They were speaking Ukrainian to each other, and that would have been fine. But then a local woman with her daughters appeared on the scene, and she was offended by the sound of a foreign language. At first, there were the usual everyday complaints you hear in these situations, like if you're using public services, speak Polish, right? Speak Polish. And then came the complaints about them jumping on the trampolines. These are Polish trampolines, you know, you're not at home. These are trampolines in Poland, do you understand? And you are Ukrainians, so that means you're not allowed to jump on these trampolines. The teenagers, to their credit, weren't looking for conflict. They apologized and gave up their spot. But petty zeal doesn't fade that easily. One thing led to another, and over a forgotten ball and a trivial argument, the grown woman went from complaints to outright violence. The result, a punch to one girl's neck and a punch to another girl's face. And a broken nose for the guy who tried to stand up for his friends. To the reasonable question, why? What gives you the right? The answer was as outrageous as it was clear. Because you're from Ukraine, what don't you understand? The mother of the injured children, Miss Alina, documented the injuries and went to the police. The Polish law enforcement representative, the press secretary of the Legnica City Police, Jagoda Eckert, confirmed that a report had been filed. But right now, the police are following standard procedure, interviewing witnesses, identifying those involved, and gathering evidence. The suspects have not been detained yet, and no charges have been filed. The official authorities are carefully avoiding making any strong statements about the motive. So, friends, what are we left with? An adult woman? Well, I'll be honest, I'm 40 years old, I'm a grown man. I regularly see Polish teenagers who swear like sailors. But it never occurs to me to get physical or to act aggressively towards them. But anyway, let's get back to the lady. This video isn't about me. The lady got physical, covering up her plain aggression and national hostility. No matter what legal assessment Polish investigators give to this, the fact remains. Raising your fists against other people's children is not just a crime, it's also a moral disgrace. We are awaiting the official investigation results and observing the Polish law enforcement response. The reaction deserves special attention. By the way, it flared up on the Polish internet. Of course, there was the expected uproar there, and they already know these talking points by heart. What's going on? In Poland, a Polish woman was detained. Well, she hasn't even been detained yet. This is yet another provocation from the Ukrainians. The logic is phenomenal, yeah, and of course, as usual. Do you remember, like 4 years ago, some Ukrainian hit someone there? Huh? What do you say to that? Friends, about logic. When an adult woman you see in broad daylight punches teenagers in the face with her fist, the teenagers are to blame, right? Because they were provoking just by the fact of their existence. In short, the usual nod to the fact that Ukrainians in Poland commit offenses too, even though they're guests here. Fellow commenters, let's use logic. It's easy. Yes, offenses and crimes among migrants and refugees do happen, just like among any other group of people anywhere in the world. No one argues with that. That's what the criminal code is for. But what do the hypothetical sins of some other people have to do with this specific situation, with these children who got hit in the face by the pool? None at all, just like these children had nothing to do with Volin. Trying to justify an attack on children with general systemic complaints against a nation is a typical way of shifting blame and trying to whitewash ordinary crime. Damn, I don't know if my commenters are deaf, the ones who write this nonsense, or if they're just bots who don't care what they write. Crime does not have a national justification. Whether you're Polish, Ukrainian, or Filipino, if you commit an offense, you must answer to the law regardless of what passport you carry. What's not clear? Attempts to write off child abuse as a political provocation? Well, that's ridiculous. Next. Next story. A Ukrainian woman posted a video of her car, which some crafty individuals, interesting, who do you think it was, covered with xenophobic and blatantly vulgar graffiti. Welcome to Poland, the author says ironically off-screen, showing the damaged car body, where some vandals are basically advising her to leave the country. Let's watch the video.
Welcome to Poland. Simple. Thank you. Thank you, Polish friends. Cool.
Well, that's how it is. Of course, it's not clear who exactly decided to show off their artistic talents. Well, I guess it's obvious, probably ourselves. We're bombing ourselves, we're killing ourselves. Well, we decided to paint these vehicles ourselves too. Ukrainians do everything themselves, yes, as usual. Well, seriously though, it's not known at this point if the victim went to the police, but unfortunately, incidents like this are becoming part of a chain of minor incidents targeting Ukrainians in Poland. Yeah, these aren't the best times right now. What can you say? We're seeing a classic case of everyday vandalism and hooliganism, which once again is mixed with plain old national hostility. And who is fueling it, you might ask? Of course, the Ukrainians. Who else? Well, honestly, damaging someone else's property because of license plates or language, I believe that's not patriotism or a civic stance. It's simply a criminal offense. I hope that's how it will be treated. I'll repeat it again for those who are a bit slow. No one is blaming some Poles with pitchforks. I'm not blaming all Poles. Blaming an entire nation indiscriminately is foolish. It's not the people or the country who are to blame, but specific individuals with a can of paint or a nail in their hand who committed a specific offense. And of course, the one who incites these violations is also to blame. The person who damaged the car is the criminal, and he should be judged strictly according to the law. Damaging someone else's property should not lead to lynching or be excused by politics or national grievances. It's a complicated thought, isn't it? It's tough. For those about to write angry comments, listen, you might gain some sense, but that's not guaranteed. Next, once again, it's Poznan again. Once again, it's public transport and just some ordinary aggressive punks. Let's watch this wonderful video.
To be continued singing in a foreign language, subtitles by Dima Torzok.
We've already talked about this story, only the video is new. Well, in the Tram in broad daylight, a group of thugs deliberately picked on a Ukrainian guy. Yeah, and when he was getting off, they even hit him in the head. But this is an unusual occurrence on the streets of sunny Poland. A 60-year-old man stood up for the boy at the stop. In the end, that's the whole story. At the stop, the attackers went after him too and punched him in the face as well, so he wouldn't think he could do whatever he wanted here. Wow, imagine standing up for Ukrainians. The family reported to police, camera footage was seized, and the attackers are being sought. In short, it's drunken thugs who gang up on children, on, I don't even want to say old people, on older men hiding their own inadequacy behind national hatred. Listen carefully one more time for those who don't understand. No one is blaming all Poles. The man who stood up for the child, he also suffered. He's a citizen of Poland. He showed real honor and humanity. It's not countries or peoples who are to blame. It's specific criminals who are at fault, those who resort to violence. They must be personally held accountable before the law for violence and hooliganism.
That's right.
Friends, and now is the perfect time, yes, to write. Dennis, what are you saying? Well, that's it. This is all a criminal offense. You can't even think such things, let alone say them out loud. So, here's another sensational piece of news from Poland, from the Pomeranian Voivodeship. In a wooded area near the town of Cieszonka in the Kartuzy County, the body of a 39-year-old Ukrainian citizen was found. The police received the report back on July 16 on my birthday, when I turned 40. You can congratulate me if you haven't already. So, police officers went to the scene together with a prosecutor and a forensic medical expert. Well, they couldn't determine the initial cause of death. They sent everything for examination. So, the first autopsy results were already in. The involvement of third parties in the man's death was completely ruled out. What's interesting is that there were minor injuries on the body, but the examination says they weren't criminal in nature and didn't cause the death. The murder theory is officially dismissed. That's how it is, friends. M, 39 years old, basically a young guy. Law enforcement continues the investigation to reconstruct what happened. Details aren't being disclosed yet due to the investigation. And right away, of course, in the comments, my God, I don't even know why I go on Facebook. What's wrong with me? Why do I need all of this? Speculation started, and of course, conspiracy theories began to swirl. Well, who? Well, I won't discuss the Polish comments, but it's clear. Either a Ukrainian was killed or he died by suicide because he's Ukrainian. What other reasons or questions are there? So, well, I think that speculating about a person's tragedy is first of all pointless right now, and frankly just plain indecent. Let's wait for the official conclusion of the investigation without unnecessary noise. And here's a fundamentally important point that for some reason my dear haters constantly forget. Your humble servant is by no means throwing a tantrum in the spirit of the Poles are to blame for everything. It's them with pitchforks and axes. Collective guilt is nonsense and cheap manipulation. In any crime or offense, it's not an entire people, not an entire country, not the color of a passport that's to blame, but a specific citizen who committed a specific unlawful act. The one who broke the law is the criminal, period, and he should be held personally accountable to the full extent of the law without regard to the color of his passport. So friends, what else did I want to tell you? These thoughts probably aren't new either, but I still need to say them out loud because, well, some of my viewers are younger than me, and I absolutely don't want to say that I'm trying to teach you. No, I just might, possibly, though I can't say for sure, have a little more life experience. And I want to tell you that the recent news about all this hooliganism and vandalism shows one simple thing. Unfortunately, no one is safe from encountering aggressive or just unstable people. Even if you live in an elite neighborhood in a gated community and have everything delivered. You might go out in the evening for kefir or cigarettes. By the way, don't smoke. I don't. That's it. But you can still get into trouble. I believe this is not a reason to panic or despair, but it is a reason to exercise basic caution. A few basic rules to protect your health and peace of mind. Avoid escalation. If you see that there is a drunk or clearly aggressive group in front of you looking for a reason to pick a fight, don't get into pointless verbal arguments because you won't be able to prove you had nothing to do with Volhynia. The goal of such people is to provoke you and then turn everything into a fight if they have enough courage. Leaving this conflict isn't cowardice, it's a reasonable choice. Keep your distance on public transport and in crowds. If someone acts provocatively, move away, change seats, or switch cars early. Don't try to stay unnoticed if, again, someone is threatening you. Don't hesitate to attract the attention of those around you. Ask the driver for help on public transport, or reach out to security or passers-by. Document everything and contact the authorities. Yes, if you are attacked, your property is damaged, or you are threatened, record the damages and situations. Take photos, videos, and note any witnesses. Well, witnesses can be difficult to find, right? All right, surveillance cameras as well, and immediately file a report with the police, because the law exists to be enforced. Take care of your kids and go over simple rules with younger ones. Don't argue with unfamiliar adults. Leave immediately for a safe, crowded place at the first sign of aggression and call your parents. Friends, stay alert. Please keep a cool head and protect yourself and your loved ones. If you watched up to this point right, Dennis watched from Lodz, from Barcelona. Let us know where you're watching from. Maybe someone from Calais is watching. That's all for now. See you next time.